Hi guys, welcome to my brand new channel. This is my very first YouTube video ever. I don't have any social media accounts on any platform. I never had a YouTube account until just a few days ago. So I always watched as a guest on the Roku TV. Being on this side of the camera is pretty uncomfortable for me, but I'm going to get through it. The Lord has called me to do this. And He's going to decide where we go from here, but I don't consider myself anything really special. I'm not an expert in anything, and I'm just an ordinary person with a story to tell. I've been through some hell in my life. The fact is, I'm a miracle. I've always believed in God and Jesus. I gave my life to Christ when I was 13. I've read my Bible cover to cover several times. I try to live my life for the Lord the best I can. I want to be the best version of me. Like most Christians, I go through life, day to day, and sometimes I get distracted and off track with my Bible study, but I try to come back to it. I was raised in a Baptist church. We believe once you're born again, you don't go to church, you are the church. We are the body and Christ is the head. We do assemble ourselves together with other believers on Sundays. The Lord has led me to this very moment over a period of time, so stick with me because it's a pretty interesting story. Years ago, back in the early 2000s, I had the overwhelming urge to do a blog. I wanted to tell my story, mainly as a way to heal myself back then. I wanted an outlet for my pain. Whether it helped somebody else or not, that was just a bonus. But I never did do the blog. I got busy with life and working and all those things, and I just didn't do it. In 2011-ish, 2012, somewhere around there, I had the overwhelming urge again, but starting a blog in the early 2000s is very different. It's changed a lot, so I kind of veered away from that, and so I said, well, I could write a book. I actually did start writing a book. I saved it on my computer, and then I just didn't do anything with it at that point. I said, who wants to read my story? I'm just a regular person, I named the book Damaged Goods. Then, back in 2020, the world changed, as we all know. A veil was removed, and a lot of us woke up. I woke up to the reality that I had been blindly trusting certain things and certain organizations and agencies, things that are supposed to keep us safe, really aren't. And then when you wake up, you can't go back. The entire world is now divided. Families are divided against each other. Friends have divided against each other. Everything's about being on the left or the right. There's no middle ground at this point. But the Bible teaches us, Jesus said, He came to divide. That's the whole point. We're dividing the goats from the sheep. We're dividing the tares from the wheat, and the righteous from the unrighteous. And Satan at this point is not even hiding in the shadows anymore. He's just flat out showing himself. So all this should tell us where we are in time right now. Back when the churches shut down because of fear, that bothered me, that our church would give itself over to fear the way it did. And so because of all the shutdowns, I started watching other preachers on YouTube. I'm being a Baptist, I started watching some Pentecostal pastors and things like that. I started listening to some prophets, and I started asking, I had always had some questions that I never really sought the answer to, but this time I started doing that, and so my questions got answered, and I just started on this spiritual journey that has been pretty awesome. I've been learning about spiritual warfare. That's not something we're taught about in the Baptist world. I don't know why exactly. We do know Satan is real. We acknowledge that he goes around looking whom to devour and destroy and so forth, but they never talk about demons or how demons influence our life, or they never talk about how we unknowingly invite them in. So that has been an eye-opening experience for me. I've learned a lot about witchcraft. That is not something we talk about in the Baptist world either. So it's like things don't exist. It's like the devil was being ignored. So I went on a journey to get some of these answers myself. I have been learning about the authority of Christ also. I've always read the Bible as it's a story, and like the story of Samson or Joshua, or it's Esther. That's a story that for that time frame, and God was talking to those people in that moment for that moment. I never really looked at it too much as how it's for me now. We know the New Testament's for me now. That Jesus was speaking, and we take all that to be, hey, he's talking to me too. But some of those older stories are just, it's a story, But a few weeks, well, let me back up. God brought up the Tell My Story thing again back in 2023. A really dear friend of mine gave me a journal for Christmas. This journal. And she told me to write my story. I thought it was interesting. I'm like, well, cool. That'll be something I can leave behind for my kids, one day. And she's really into ancestry stuff. So to get it from her, it's like, that's pretty neat. Like I said, it's for the future for my family. But then a few weeks ago, I was going through, I had to put away some important papers into our firebox. The house burns down, you don't want those going. So anyway, I opened up the box to put these papers in, and I noticed the old file with my printed out book in it. And for some reason, I just had this overwhelming urge to pull it out and look at it and kind of update it. There's some things that's happened since I wrote all that. And I looked at it compared to the journal, my story I wrote in the journal. And I was like, well, yeah, we should merge this together, and, some things I forgot, some new things. And so, in the process of doing that, I kept seeing these, and God can use YouTube, okay? I'm just saying. He kept sending me these videos about starting a YouTube channel. And one popped up, says, you need to start a channel having to do with ministry. And I'm like, I ain't got no ministry. What are you talking about? That video's not got anything to do with me. But it just dropped in my spirit all of a sudden. Tell your story. So, the Lord's been dealing with me since that. Sorry. So, thanks to that 5-year journey I've been on to kind of wake up, and I had this pastor, he made a, we have a tendency to focus on the negative things in our life, and that's what I was doing. And so after all this spiritual stuff that the Lord has been leading me on, then I started to look back and go, oh wow, he was protecting me. He was bringing me, out of that. But my plan for this channel is to be able to pre-record my videos. I'm going to read one chapter of my book per video. And yes, I'm going to read it because it helps me stay on track and stay organized. At the end of the video of reading that chapter, I will give some testimony of how I kind of come through those things and some commentary, okay? The video right now is a little bit vague on who I am because I don't want to spoil the story. You're going to get to know me through my story. So, one of the purposes for doing this, like I said, is because the Lord has led me to it. My hope is that telling my story will serve God's purpose. Like everyone else, I will learn as I go. And sometime in the following videos, you're going to hear things about my spiritual walk with the Lord, how He's protected me, guided me, provided for me, but also how family cycles have been repeated and how I was able to break those cycles. And there's going to be some advice in there for young parents based on my real life experiences as a child, as a parent, myself, and so on. I'm also going to share how some of my recent questions that I had have been answered. You know, I've come out of the I'm just Baptist, now I'm more of a Baptist-costal, okay, just saying. But anyway, so join me in my next videos.